Hello, I'm Sarah from So and So, and I'm here today to talk to Nancy Nicholson, who is the designer and author of a fantastic new hand embroidery book called Modern Folk Embroidery. Hi, Nancy.
Hello.
Finally, we made it.
Yes.
It's good to talk to you. So I was just going to ask you a few questions about your work and about the sort of the process of working on the book, and just to share some of your kind of ideas and inspirations, really.
Mm.
So can you tell us a bit more about the process that went into the designs that are in Modern Folk Embroidery?
Yes. I mean, I'm always thinking up ideas. That's the trouble. It's the thing that I love most, and it's what I go to bed thinking about, and it's what I wake up thinking about. So I like the sort of problem solving of of working out projects really for people to make, but it's fundamental that it's relatively easy for people to do, so they're not daunted by the thought that it might be a very complicated thing for them to do, because it's hand embroidery is very simple once you've got the hang of it. You know, it's a lovely and relaxing thing to do, and you can build on very simple stitches to make it look very complicated, but actually it's not really.
So I suppose you can kind of master a handful of stitches and then just use those in variations to make
Yes.
beautiful designs in your book.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like a running stitch can be elaborated on endlessly. You know, you can weave it, you can add dots, you can add other elements to it to make it really rich and beautiful, which is what traditional folk embroidery does, of course. So, and throughout the ages, we've made that something that's incredibly elaborate or really quite simple, but it still has great effect, even if it's a very simple thing like a running stitch. But the projects in the book, I've tried to keep them relatively easy and simple to do, and simple shapes to, I hope, good effect.
Make it accessible for people. And so the book's called Modern Folk Embroidery, and do you feel like your work is inspired by folk designs?
Oh, definitely, yes. I mean, I look at folk costume a lot, and my Pinterest board is enormous, you know, for folk costume and folk-inspired artworks and things like that. And the colour also is very important, because in folk embroidery, obviously, the colour is very rich, and you know, they're the colours that I love: orange and pink and white and pale blue, and you know, it's just a sort of a palette that I've got stuck in my head, really. So it sort of makes sense.
Yeah, it's got a Scandinavian feel, I think, the colours in the book.
Yes, yes.
Is that a region that inspires you? Is that sort of aesthetic?
Yes, I adore anything Swedish, of course, and always have done, really. You know, from quite a young age, and so Swedish design, especially embroidery design, has always been, you know, a big influence on me. But yes.
I was going to ask, it's a bit of a tricky question, but do you have a favourite project in the book? If so,
I do, and I think it's the little house picture, which of course was inspired by my mother's original embroidery, which I think she did in, I would say, the early 50s, and it's only tiny, but the stitches are unbelievably tiny and absolutely beautifully worked, and it's mostly chain stitch, but I think that for me it was lovely to work that into a sampler for the book, and it felt a real connection with my upbringing and the things that I watched her making and doing, and that was always on her wall, and now I have it, so it was nice to bring that in. Yes.
That's lovely. Will you tell us a bit about your mother and what?
Yes.
Why, you know, I know she's your inspiration, and she
hugely.
Didn't she?
I mean, she was. I was just always. I mean, I've said this many times, but when she when I was a little girl, she had a studio which was just full of fabric and braid and beads and buttons and sequins, and it was just the most like an Aladdin's cave, really, for me as a child. And I would have to be quiet, but I'd be given little bits of material and things that she was working on, bits of felt, and I think it just worked into me watching her drawing things for her own books, and I just loved it. It was just like something switched on inside me. So I went for years, when I was at college, trying to be very sort of highbrow, artistic textile artist, creating sort of very meaningful things. Actually, all I wanted to do was craft, and so I gave up the fight and stopped trying to be very intellectual and just enjoyed it in the end. Yes, she wrote, I don't know, maybe 5 books, I think, on embroidery through her life, and taught a lot. She worked with the needlework development scheme as well, and did designs for their booklets, which are fantastic, which I have some original copies of. And she
also, I don't know, sorry, Joan Nicholson, isn't it?
Joan Nicholson, yes.
And she recently, sorry Nancy, I don't want to talk over you. Right. I saw on your blog recently, didn't your mother do the stitchery on the Royal Britannica yacht? I've got that on there.
Yes, she designed the embroidery, which is the Queen wanted English flowers and butterflies and things like that. So she did the design, of which I've got the original watercolor, amazingly, and then it was commissioned to be stitched on silk by the Royal School of Needlework, and it's been there on the Royal Yacht Britannia ever since. Yes, it's very beautiful, and you can have a look at it on my blog. Yes.
Yeah, do everyone go and have a look. It's very
yes.
Really So I also wanted to ask you, because I know, as well as designing and of course stitching, you also teach, and I wondered which of those hats you prefer, or are they all just something that you do?
I definitely enjoy designing most, and I would be happy just to do that all day, every day. And I do love stitching, but of course I've made my hobby my work, and that's always a difficulty, because then you're doing it all day, every day, and you're sewing all the time and stitching all the time, stitching up samples or whatever it is I'm doing. So it's now become a much more urgent thing to do, and so, which is sad. And I'd love to go back to the machine embroideries, which I used to do before I started this business. So yes, I love designing. I just love it, and that's my happy place, definitely. Yes.
Okay, final question. I wanted to ask you, what are you actually stitching or designing now? Are you able to share anything with us?
Yes, I think I can give you a sneak peek. I mean, I'm working on. Shall I show you?
Yeah, that would be good.
I'm doing a sample.
Oh,
I'm working on a sample for a new kit. So this is called Garden. So once it's been embroidered, it then is photographed, and it'll be on lovely brand new website which is being built at the moment. And then I'm doing a new download for Christmas.
Oh, look at that! Which
are little pockets. So you fill the pockets with coins and hang them on your tree. There's that one, and this one.
Gorgeous colours. I don't want to talk because it takes the screen away from the.
So those are being. I'm making those now into a PDF, which will be ready hopefully by next week. So that'll go online next week. So that's what we're working on at the moment, and then I'm thinking about some new kits. I'm always thinking about new kits. So there'll be a lot of things happening. We're hoping to bring out do a YouTube channel with some animated stitch instructions on, which is next year's project, which will be linked to the website. And hopefully everyone can enjoy that. So it's going to be...
thank you so much for sharing with us, Nancy. And I can hear your little dog, who's not very well.
She's not very well, no, and she's wanting attention.
Oh, well, you go and look after her. And thank you so much for spending some time with us and sharing your design ideas and inspirations.
It was lovely to talk to you.
All right. Speak to you soon, Nancy.
Okay, Sarah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.